Okay. Okay, I think we're ready to start.
Good.
But yeah, say a few words.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out. If I haven't met you before, I'm Nancy Van Reese. I'm your council member here. And what we now know is District 8, which is next year you're going to turn into District 3, but we're still going to be neighbors. If you don't quite understand our redistricting, I'm happy to explain that to you guys later. But welcome this evening. This has always been something that we've been trying to make sure on a metro council level to fund as many traffic calming projects as we can. And as we know, this floated up to the status of getting resolved. And so we're going to hear more about how that works. But I wanted just to welcome you, and I'm glad to see everybody out and about. This is a great opportunity to also consider formally organizing. I would love to see a neighborhood association in this area get together and say, yeah, okay, you know, every 12 weeks or something, we need to get together and maybe see what we can do in the area. I would love that. It's a vibrant community, and we've done all we can to make sure that the neighborhood maintenance overlay protects the large lots, and we kind of make sure that suburban nature that we love so much. I just lived up on the kind of north, kind of behind the Lowe's on Marlin Court up there. So I'm very in the area. And we want to protect that while we bring the city to the corridors. And so I'm here to make sure that that happens as well. But with that, we have these situations where we end up with cut trees. And so similar to Ronnie Road, East and West Marthona went through this process, and you're going to be seeing some traffic calming measures on East and West Marthona coming in on the other side of the boulevard. So we're just doing quite a bit in the area actually to kind of calm things down. Might be familiar with Gibson, who had traffic calming for an extended period of time, but then also in open papers quite a bit. So we're here to kind of hear what the options are, and then nothing will happen unless the majority of the property owners want to happen. So that you have a voice in this. And with that, I will pass it over to the good folks at NDOT.
Thank you. My name is Jara Fowl, and this is
I'm Liz Tucknell.
and we're here representing NDOT to show you the ideas we've come up with for your neighborhood to calm Ronnie Road. Okay, so we're going to start with some background information. We'll go through the 3 E's of traffic calming, which are basically the 3 pillars of, the 3 pillars of keeping speeds down along a street to make it safer. So education and enforcement are both super important. Unfortunately, we don't have handcuffs. We're not cops. We can't ticket people, and we're here to educate you. But what our main purpose is to use engineering to try to solve the problems that you guys are facing, or at least mitigate them. Okay, so what is traffic calming? So the program that we're here for is one that addresses residential streets. We specifically target residential streets because those are the ones that people are using to get to and from their homes. They're walking their dogs, they're walking their kids to school, going to the library, things of that nature. We really want to make sure that people are driving along those streets as carefully as possible. So we use physical solutions to reduce speeds. So we'll walk through those options later on in the presentation. And then we're encouraging lower speeds over significant lengths. So we're not doing spot projects. This isn't about like a specific intersection or anything like that. This is over a length of road that's particularly dangerous around town. Okay. So, as I mentioned, it's a street program, not a neighborhood program. So we get applications from neighborhoods where specific streets are proposed for us to look at. And we go in and we collect data and we do some analysis and we figure out where the most impact would be made if we do traffic calming in Nashville. we implement devices to reduce speeds and increase safety. And so we have limited resources. Unfortunately, we would love to do traffic calming on every street that people ask for, but we have to prioritize them. And so you guys made it into the program, which is great because you're getting help, but also not great because that means that your street was really dangerous. And there are other ways that you can get resources directed towards your community besides this traffic calming program. So one of the ways is through Hub Nashville, where if there's anything that you'd like addressed on your street that isn't necessarily part of traffic calming, that's where you would send in your requests. So for example, if there's an intersection that you feel like could use stop signs, that's not part of the traffic calming program. Unfortunately, stop signs are traffic control versus traffic calming. So another type of analysis has to be done for stop signs to be put in somewhere. So if you'd like stop signs in your neighborhood, Hub Nashville is a great place to put those requests. Walk Bike Nashville is a great place to get more pedestrian or bicycle infrastructure installed in your neighborhood. So questions or requests for those can be directed to Walk Bike Nashville. And then the Beautification Commission has the Adopt a Street program, community service, cleanup, and tree plantings, things like that. That's where that can be sent. All right. Now we're going to get a little bit more into the details of our program. So there's pretty high demand throughout Nashville, as you can imagine. We're a growing city. So as of July this year, we had 426 neighborhood streets apply for traffic calming. So of those applications, we selected 27 streets that were the most dangerous and needed the most attention immediately. So this is kind of like a brief summary of how we go about prioritizing streets to decide which ones we'll work on first. So out of 100 points maximum, 50% of that is measured speeds. So we collect speed data along each street, and if we compare the 85th percentile speed, so like 85% of cars are going at this speed or slower, we compare that to the posted speed limit. So we're trying to figure out, I guess, on average, how fast are people going? How high over the speed limit are people going? Are people going 50 in a 25? We want to know that. We look at the crash history. So we take the number of crashes that occurred in the past 5 years. We look at active transportation. So whether you have sidewalks. So if you're able to walk along a sidewalk to get to a destination, it's going to be safer than an area where there are no sidewalks and people are forced to walk in the streets. And then neighborhood destinations. Are there places that people want to walk or are going to be inclined to walk from their houses within their neighborhood? So the street that was selected in your neighborhood is Ronnie Road from Old Hickory Boulevard to East Campbell Road. There was another street on your application that was not selected. That was Saunders Avenue from Old Hickory Boulevard to Due West Avenue. If I'm not mistaken, a stretch of that is actually East Marthana, and that was part of a project that we did on a previous cycle. So that length of the street will be getting traffic calming. And so the street that wasn't selected, we don't just throw that data away. It stays in the program and we'll continue reevaluating it. And so as we're working through the street cycle after cycle, this one may rise to the top and we might be right back here doing this again. And then after 2 years, you can reapply. So if in, I guess, 2024, you want us to collect new data and see if things have worsened on Saunders Avenue and it rises, we'll do that. Okay, so this is a visual of what I just explained. The stretch of road that we're going to be working on and the stretch of road that was also on the application but isn't part of this project. Okay, so does anyone have any questions? I know that was a lot of stuff that I just threw at you. Okay, so now we're going to go into our toolbox and show you what some of the common traffic calming measures that we implement around Nashville are. So first up, we have speed cushions. This is the bread and butter of our traffic calming program. You'll see a lot of these on our projects. They are rubberized speed humps that are split, as you can see. On the left, you can see that there's one on each lane, and on the right, if this is a 2-lane road, you have essentially one on either side and then one straight down the middle. The difference in the numbers is just based on the width of the street. We want to make sure that we don't have gaps that are big enough that encourage people to try to drive between them. And they're split so that emergency vehicles have an easier time getting over them without being thrown around. Next up, we have signs and markings. On the left, you can see radar feedback signs. Those are signs that I'm sure you guys are familiar with. They let you know how fast you're going compared to the speed limit of the area that you're driving through. It serves as a good reminder for drivers because we're not always looking at our speedometers. We don't always have a good grasp of how fast we're going. And then pavement markings as well. Those, again, call attention to the road and to the drivers to remind them of what they're supposed to be doing. Next up, we have narrowing. So in some neighborhoods, there are streets that are incredibly wide. And I don't know if you've ever driven along a really wide street, but when you have the space, you're gonna feel more comfortable driving a little bit faster. So the idea of narrowing is, again, just to tighten the road a little bit, make it so that drivers are more careful as they're passing through a neighborhood. This can be done in a few different ways, and so we have examples up here. And then speed tables are similar to speed cushions, they just don't have the gaps in between them. We typically use cushions just because, as I mentioned, they're easier on emergency vehicles. It doesn't eliminate the impact of emergency vehicles passing over them, but it does lessen it by a lot. Traffic circles for intersections that are pretty wide. Sometimes people can kind of fly through them. And so a traffic circle, again, just takes up some of that space, makes it something that people have to think about a little bit harder as they're navigating it. They have to go around it similar to a roundabout. And then chicanes. These are less common, but essentially it's, again, making the road something that's a little more difficult to navigate so that people don't feel inclined to just blaze through straight down. Okay. And so this is a flow chart of the process that we put each project through. So we're at meeting 1, which is highlighted in red, which means that you've already done your application. We've already gone through prioritization and selected your street. So now we're at meeting 1, where we give you an overview of the program and show you the concept. That'll be next. And then after that, we'll take your whatever feedback we get from you guys today, and we're going to do our field visits, and we're going to do a more detailed design that we'll present at the next meeting. And then at that meeting, we'll go into more detail about next steps. But essentially, there's a ballot process where we'll send out ballots to all of the residents along Ronnie Road, and each resident will be able to vote on if they want the measures to go through or not. If 66% of the respondents respond yes, then we'll move on to construction. We'll order the materials, and you guys will have speed cushions on your street. I guess I let you know what the surprise is: speed cushions. So our proposal for your street is a series of pairs of speed cushions along Ronnie Road, 6 of them in total. When we're placing these, I guess 6 pairs in total. When we're placing these, we watch out for driveways, vertical curves, horizontal curves. Essentially, we want these to encourage people to slow down, or I guess force them to, since they're vertical measures. But we don't want them to become a danger for people as they're driving, which is why we avoid aggressive grades when we're placing them. Does anyone have any thoughts?
Well, I have a list of questions that I'd like to ask. Have your presentation first.
Okay. Well, in that case, we only have a little bit left, and then we can get into, I guess, the discussion portion. So this is essentially the extent of the voters that will be balloted along Ronnie Road. This is the general list that we'll pull, and then from there we'll weed out commercial addresses, churches, things of that nature. We only ballot residences and homeowners. So if somebody rents, the ballot will go to the person who owns the home. Okay.
So let's talk about your criteria.
Okay.
For making this. How many deaths have occurred? I'm running right now.
I don't know, but I can retrieve that data for you and give it to you
How
later.
serious and
Off
how
the
many
top of
accidents in general?
my head, I don't know. We have a spreadsheet which has 426 streets on it, and so I don't know off the top of my head, but I can supply that information if you'd like.
How do you measure?
So we have essentially they're basically air tubes that get put out on the road, and they collect data over a series of time that measure the speeds of cars passing over it.
So your age there, 25 miles.
If that's again, it's in a spreadsheet. If that's the speed of whatever the speed limit of Ronnie Road is, that's what we're using to gauge it.
25 miles.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, then we should be able to have a couple of comments.
Yeah.
So what I'm looking at here is that you're noticing that speed that some are uncomfortable. Notice that. But what you're supposed to do is make it miserable to live on that speed limit. And I, for one, would be enraged if you put those speed limits.
Okay.
Yeah, the worst thing that anyone can hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help, because it generally doesn't. So I would respectfully request that taken off.
Well, fortunately, if you live on Ronnie Road, you'll get a ballot, and then you can voice your concerns through your vote.
There's a stop sign and then. You really don't have a speed limit. We walk the dogs and then. You can be walking over that. There's speed on this. Well, they run that stop. They take it out and just blow right through.
I don't want to be a speed trap for Thursday.
People passing. The double line. That's about it.
So.
Because I'm going.
Sure.
If that's the case, how long do you expect the cops to take? 24/7, periodically we do. So my thing, I'm Gary, by the way, I actually started this. And when I was younger, we used Ronnie, on the road. I'm married, I have two young children, and that's all we do is watch not only are people doing 60 miles down south, they were passing each other on south. They're driving into the edge of my yard. One of my bandmates lives on Ron Road. I think it's Ron, maybe it's whatever that word. And he was like, it's the same thing. They're going 50 to 60 miles per hour. So if speed bumps aren't the, or the solution, you know, and I would like to think Mine and your house?
We've been, actually, the STEM program started quite some time ago when there were speed bumps or concrete. And then whenever we repaved, it's grandfathered back in as speed speed cushions. And so that road's been like that for quite some time. It's been very effective. This is not something that if you are a homeowner on that street, everybody gets the same vote. My concern is that the speed cushions that they're recommending, I'd like to know whether or not their property owners on this road that have an opinion as to where they're currently.
How
Yes.
far are those separated from the first one to the second one? How many feet is that?
So this is just the concept, so they're not placed exactly yet, but typically we place them about 400 feet from each other. We find that that tends to be a distance that keeps people from accelerating too much between them.
The third one that's right almost to Williams.
Yes.
In other studies, and then there's one right past Nesbitt. In other studies, do you find that that's good because it's right at an intersection, or did it just come out that way by putting it this way? Like the one right by Williams? Is there one of them that have been done? Is it because of 100 feet, or is it because at intersections that makes a difference?
So where it's, how do I explain it? It's not going to be like directly at the intersection.
Right.
We
Well, that's
wouldn't put it right at an intersection or right at a driveway. Again, this isn't to scale. It's just to give an idea of like the numbers that we're thinking. And so we would leave, they're not going to be, I guess, directly by a stop sign because that would impede people's ability to stop and go from the
So
stop
my
sign.
question right there, or my reason for my question, hey, there's not a stop sign at Williams, like where that yellow one is, there's not a stop sign at Williams.
Mhm.
There's a driveway really close to that. So do you go for the driveway? Do you go after Williams?
And that's something that we would determine in the field and through a more, I guess, rigorous design.
So this is an estimate and then.
Yes,
and
this
then
is-
Go out and determine, and then the second meeting.
Yeah. So at meeting two, I think you've probably been to some of our meeting twos where we have the detailed plans.
Let's react, so 400 feet normal, because I mean, that's kind of the norm.
Yeah.
At most streets, kind of the norm.
Approximately, yeah.
And we could, some of us that right there is really affecting could kind of gauge 400 feet on our own,
Mhm.
like right now, before we vote on it.
Oh, you're not, so this meeting is just,
Now we're not voting on it,
Yeah.
but what we're seeing right now, what I'm seeing right now is you got one in front of my driveway.
yeah,
What I see.
Yeah.
So that's gonna sway my vote. I mean,
Yeah.
So if we're like, oh, well, that's not in front of your driveway, or in front of your house, or in front of the intersection, or at the intersection before your house. So, I mean, I almost wish you had put that up there, because that's not what we're looking at, because it's kind of.
yeah, like I said, this isn't to scale, so it is just to give you a general idea of what we're thinking. That like, we're not thinking radar feedback signs for you guys, we're not thinking chicanes, we're thinking speed cushions, and this is the number that we're thinking to put in.
Well, the section between Nesbitt and Campbell is a pretty small section. You'd have to warrant to really speed through that section.
Mhm. Okay.
I don't know that speed bumps in that one little section are necessary.
Like, forget about that whole section. If the engineers say that, once you don't go over that last one, it's not gonna encourage you to speed up, you know, but, because you'll get these signs that say, speed cushion ahead. Which is another way to kind of remind people to slow down. My concern is, the fact that it is risen to the level, I don't know what he had the stats as to what the speed limit, average speed limit is on Vermont, but that would be interesting to find out what people are. It's shocking really how quickly people are trying to drive through here. I know that, there are a lot more pedestrians, a lot more children in the area. I would love to be able to put sidewalks in. We don't have the money in our budget yet. This is a way to calm traffic down, really, to save some lives and slow some folks down. I appreciate the fact that you're concerned about, an overreach. If you feel like it's an overreach, and you feel like if it is, then if you have property on Ronnie Road, then you've got to vote along with everybody else, and want to hear both sides of the story. But in the end, an inconvenience versus pedestrian safety.
But we haven't seen the stats for pedestrians.
I'm here to voice off because of Nesbitt. That's the problem.
Williams is a problem. It's a stop sign coming across Williams, and that's a problem. I don't disagree with the stretch from Williams to LXD, because yes, they fly right past my house. Absolutely. Yeah. But with that being said, don't go down Gibson Drive because of speed bumps. But I don't have a choice to go down Ronnie. You know, and I'm not opposed to this totally. I'm opposed to 6 or 7 of them of what I just read, because I mean you can't, well, and that's no disrespect, but I feel like that we're discussing and we were shown 6 or 7 what it was. Now it's, well, it might not be 6 or 7.
No,
It might be 3.
engineers have to look at it. I think that
Well, I don't think we had this meeting, the engineers looked at it.
they're looking at the budget. So the budget for this project will support 6 speed. So do we need 6 speed cushions? That's something that the engineers will determine placement, and then we can show up at the second meeting and decide whether or not the engineers say 5's enough or
Okay, so the
whatever.
second meeting like this.
Yeah,
Then
we'll have more detailed
we would
plans.
have exactly.
Yes, we'll have the plans that we
change
need.
of opinions at that point.
So this initial meeting is to essentially explain the program and show our concept and get feedback from you guys, so that when we're doing our design and when we come back for the second meeting with the final plans, which are the ones that we would prospectively be giving to the contractors, we have already gotten your feedback and that has weighed into our decision making. Also, I've pulled up our prioritization, and Ronnie Road ranked 2. Your 85th percentile speed is 47 miles per hour and your speed limit is 25.
With Metro Council, about a year ago, I lost track of COVID. With all different streets. So it's been at least 25 or 35. People are driving an average of 47 miles an hour at 85% of the time. Yeah, so that's too fast. The option of possibly doing
That is within the toolbox. It's not what we recommend for your street. We typically use those on streets that are like collectors or arterials. But if your ballot doesn't pass, we would likely put something in like that.
extreme traffic issues on the side because of the site. That are happening that will be happening.
No, traffic, management is a good thing, but better to start with a stop sign or cut that way first.
And NDOT keeps telling me that it will not help, and I keep asking. The problem is with the traffic calming program is that they don't do stop signs. What we can do is continue to ask for reviews of the stop signs. Like, just keep asking. So use the hub and say, we need to stop as often as you can. I think that if we go through this program, and even if we end up with speed humps, whether it's 4 or 6 or whatever we end up with, they're still not working. They're screwed into the ground. So and when we repay and we back, we can try it for a year and realize that we need to do something else. It can be redone. A stop sign, once they put those things in, they don't like to take them in and out because that's a traffic, issue, right? And so I think that if we can try this program and it works and we don't need stop signs, if it's proving that we still need stop signs, then better. Because I think it's crazy we don't have a stop sign at Nesbitt. North Great Cross, and someone was still there, it's okay. So it's, there's issues everywhere. There was someone killed on Nesbitt, right there in front of Powell, because they were walking on the side of the road and someone didn't see him. It was before we had fights. So it's bit by bit, we're trying to make it safer. Because I want Jerry to be able to walk his twins down the street and someone not drive 47 miles an hour on the side of his carriage. So I think that there's ways to kind of do it. I'm kind of chasing a rabbit, but stop signs, I think we still need stop signs in Syria. I think we need stop signs at Williams and Walker, but I'm just trying to get stop signs, but it's a separate battle than the traffic.
We allow them. We already have a problem. Whole project.
If you want to get people to stop moving to Nashville, you let me know, but this city is gonna keep growing, and we'll try to continue to make development happen for us and not to us. I'll do my best to make sure that most of the heavy density continues to happen on the corridors on Gallatin, Dickerson Pike, for the time that I have left here.
So do we know if
Ronnie wrote out, think so. East Campbell and Graycroft are considered collectors. And I think that they might have a weight limit different.
you may be familiar with flash around trucks parked down there. Do have 18 wheelers. It actually stops.
Yeah, that's the thing that you definitely have, because at that, like, if they'll park them there, because you have to park your 18 wheeler somewhere, because you don't want to park it in your, you can't park heavy machinery in your neighborhood, it's expensive. But that where it says, when you're driving down East Campbell, it says right-hand turn only. I got that sign, but they're like 9 months to get a sign there so that when the trucks leave there, they have to go towards the Lowe's and not that way. If they turn left because of that light, it is a ticket. It's a ticket. So if you take a picture of the truck, using that nature, it should be moving us around. But I'm not a cop. We have like 150 positions open now in the Metro Police Department. Know anybody who'd like to go through the academy and become a traffic cop? We're all here straight to make it happen. But we need to figure out ways to make our neighborhoods safe so the police can be doing more dangerous.
So is this project on Douglas an example of narrowing? Well, this street right here.
Madison Station Boulevard is a complete capital improvement project.
What about Heritage?
Heritage Drive, and you guys, I don't know if you see it, it's so pretty. So Heritage Drive was a very wide street, lots of pedestrian activity. TDOT received some funding from the federal government for additional bike support. And so what you're seeing there is a project to not only narrow, but also for the I don't know, I've seen our kids riding bikes and people doing what I call the Nashville sidewalk, which is a protected bike lane. Being able to walk. So that project was actually part of the street funding just in general, but not part of the traffic calming plan. And I think that's considered a collector street.
We drove down that road last week and I did not feel more safe because the lanes were so close to.
Is there any estimate of how many houses are going to that on campus?
There's 44 single family homes with 8 acres of green space, sidewalks throughout, open to the public.
And I think that's probably what my do is we see already the speed that people go and you know, certain morning and work time, and I just worry that when I was speed. Well, and there's a really big backlog. Traffic like that here. Things start coming. Get down. Be back.
And when right there at the roads, just drive down the road. So that's why.
Yeah, it's like, it's a quarter-mile walk from my house to the bus stop, and I'm trying to do that to get off the road, and I encourage you guys to use the 56 as often as you can. There's people all over the city that would just love to have what we have on the Gallatin Pike, Nickerson Pike, 79 that goes between these Gallatin Pike and Nickerson Pike. 79 is already giving, I think, an average of 12 riders a day already, which is so yeah, I mean, Nashville's growing. We got to figure out different ways to get where we want to go.
Who will get them down? Who will get them down?
Anyone who lives along Ronnie, who's a homeowner.
How fast do you go? These people,
We advise, so the speed cushions will have signs, warning signs placed with them that have advisory speed plaques that recommend that you go over them at 20 miles an hour. Yes.
So only people along Ronnie will vote.
Yeah.
So the Saunders people don't vote.
No.
So for each one of those speed humps, that's acceleration, gas, suspension going over the humps, and you do it all over.
actually, if you drive 25 miles an hour, you don't have to brake at all.
I give them 25 miles an hour. I lived in a neighborhood. Speed bumps like this, and it's every minute, 3.5. One place on my shocks, and this was like a pretty new. You know, it's like,
And then where was the actual concrete?
they were a little bit more, and then I'm concerned about that, because everybody's mentioned something about wear and tear on. Yeah, that was a problem. Speed bump.
Yeah, no, that's why we don't.
Yeah.
Everyone down in West Nashville, and it's, to answer his question, you're almost correct with the 25. That truck out there It's right off Brook Hollow. I do it every morning. And that's what it is right there. It's an emergency vehicle. And gates traveling. You have to, you go over. It keeps you at 25 mile an hour. All I can do. I still brake because the government is checking to death when I go over it. So it's going to keep you, if they do it the way they do it out there, it's 25 mile an hour. And that's just the best you can get. And I'm concerned with the 7 or however many you got up there. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm not totally against it. I'm not for it at all. I'm for safety. I'm for safety. I agree with the guy in the back where people are flying. I get it.
And so considering the feedback that we're hearing tonight, as we're doing our design, we'll take into account that this neighborhood wants as little intrusion as possible. So our design will likely have the minimal amount of speed cushions that we can to make it safer. And if that still doesn't work for the neighborhood, you're always welcome to vote
Once they're in, how do you get out?
no.
How do you get out?
Well, you're right. I think the folks that were-
Let's do a reevaluation
Well,
process.
the folks that were, my experience is that they did quite a bit. And they even tried to do those traffic circles. That some of the speed cushions are placed, that they reevaluated. So that's another reason that the neighborhood association, all the meetings, we'll have this list of everyone that responded to this, and you got your cards, and that's how you know it, right? And so, if there's, stall at that next meeting, whenever the cards are going out, we can make sure that if there's about it, either myself, NDOT, and say we need it. Follow another. It's not gonna be like it's done and then. But then we'll have to like make sure. It's working. You're not driving down it. If you live there.
Maybe you should have brought some people from. Say how wonderful it is. But I would don't get some, I'd be looking for a place. out there.
At that point, they have, this is way back, I think they had to have 90% of people that own property along that road had to say yes. Then it was 70%. Now I think it's 66% of those voting yes. So because they limited it just to the property. So, how many of y'all live actually on Ronnie Road? Okay.
So is it one vote per residence? Regardless of how many you have.
Right, when, and explain what they get, because it's like a code.
So the ballots will come out on postcards, similar to the ones that you received for this meeting. They'll have a QR code that you'll scan and a unique identifier to let us know which address the vote is for. And so it'll take you to a website where you'll fill out a form and you can vote yes or no if you feel inclined either way. If you don't vote, then it doesn't count as a yes or a no. It just doesn't count, just like any regular election. That's about it on that.
The code says it's for that.
And again, if you're a renter, then the ballot would go to the person that owns the home according to tax records.
Is it possible the second week? With the data?
What data are you interested in specifically?
As you mentioned, on it. Injuries and stuff, and maybe. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a crash on property. I've lived there.
I've been there, and I know he's been there 30, I've been there 25. 2 accidents at Williams and Ronnie, and it's because my red stop sign, I thought they were speeding, and they ran a stop sign. Not gonna do it, not gonna do it. And we're gonna bring back it on Ronnie. Walking, never. Again, I'm not against safety by any
No,
means.
you're right.
But I mean, I think some of us sit here and been here for a long time, and I feel like him, we're not just like this, and Saunders may be different. It may be, and your Boulevard would be different, but, and it's always be, there's a wreck there every day. There's not a wreck on Ronnie every day. Luckily, I can't remember anybody being killed in the last 25 years I've been there. I don't ever have to be up first. But that's a chance I take every day I pull out on Gallup Avenue or LHB or whatever. And can we slow them down? Absolutely. We got to slow cars down, but everybody that raised their hand is gonna fight this every single day. And I'm not saying I drive 25, but I'm not the 47-mile-an-hour guy.
I think that's it, though. That's putting up Saunders, like, I can see that. But that doesn't mean that, well, I applied for it. And it's not, I wouldn't get a vote, so, it doesn't really matter.
Well, here's what concerns me. Here's what concerns me is we're talking about, okay, all of these people, whatever you said, 44 households, something, whatever you said, that live on Ronnie, that gets a vote. And there's 15 of us here. I don't know what they had going on tonight. There's 15 of us here. I would say if we raised our hand right now, we could probably get a census right now of which way we go, just to explain.
Yeah, that's, I'll bring out my Leslie note that they never take a vote at a meeting. But there are some people online and it's being recorded.
And, yeah, that's.
As a pedestrian, I am through it today. My husband is probably more than. I'll walk on. And I'll walk into the back. And I'll turn around and I'll walk back. Well, I don't know. And I am a regular. People in this street who also. But be out there.
We're trying to build more walkable communities and it could be very, very well within the next year as Coursey Farms is developed, be the place where we walk. I walk at Cedar Hill Park, that's where I drive to Cedar Hill. And so I get that, but I think that too, as we get new neighbors and we kind of nail it, I've been in Madison since 1990 and I lived up there since 2000, so for over 20 years. And I'm seeing a change in the neighborhood, right? Big people coming in, lots of young families, lots of little kids, there's kids playing in the street now. That's never happened in Madison during my 20 years. It's been an aging community. It's been us, from 58, that part of my life here. But we're seeing a lot of young families with kids who want to run over to their friend's house. It's just a different neighborhood. And so trying to get in the habit of recognizing that, I think is part of our process as a community.
Kind of run. If you're trying to avoid Gallows Road, you start out right, up on Center, Hike Ride, Saunders, all with the hard thing. But I-2 side streets are bad. People walk those streets. I only walk Saunders to get to my house. And it's too late. And we have to sit deep. Like I said, people come through, they're on the property line. As they're coming through, there's a big curve right there. You said 5 or 6 times a meeting. I'm all for safety. And I'm just ultimately curious, looking at I'm just ultimately curious what the major, besides the vehicle, it's not directly in front of your yard. It's obviously not going to be. What's the ultimate?
Well, here's
satisfaction. Everybody safe. Everybody wants safety.
Here's my response to that, and just in, and I think everybody would agree to this. I've worked accidents all my life, seeing things that car going, I mean, what you said about new families letting their kids take things. Kids aren't gonna be playing with them running around anyway. I mean, that's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. It's a parenting issue. It's not gonna happen. Walking, okay, I'm like this lady. If I walk in the area, I walk down in, and I walk down in, not because the speed limit is what it is or whatever, it's because it's not a main thoroughfare. I wouldn't walk Gallatin Road because it's a main thoroughfare. I would walk OHB other than they have sidewalk. Okay, so you gotta make, that's a common sense decision. Now, if a car's going 25 and there's kids out in the middle of the street, and a kid gets hit, that kid's gonna be hurt at 25 miles an hour, the same way the kid's gonna be hit at 47 miles an hour. So putting speed humps is not gonna let the family, I know you're not saying that, but you're saying there's more families, there's more kids, there's more people walking. We're encouraging people to walk. Well, I'm not encouraging anybody to walk up Ronnie Road. I'm not, I live there. I mean, it's just not safe anyway. It's not safe if we put speed humps. Now, to answer his question, I think inconvenience would be more my frustration. Now, I did make the comment, I don't drive down Gibson. Absolutely, I know. Well, I get there's other ways. Well, I don't have a choice on run. I don't have to cut on run. So for me, it is more inconvenience. It's more wear and tear on the car. And I do not think with this guy now, we don't have tons of data that we're really going to solve the problem. I do think that we're going to have some possible families.
So all this data that you spoke about and that chart that says here's all the pieces that we took that made this decision. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't have brought it with you to this meeting because this meeting was about that road.
I can share that right now.
We also have some stats. So Ronnie Road, as we said before, did rank number 2 overall. It was actually number 289 in crashes, but it was number 1 in speed within all the streets of the program. So that's what put it up to number 2. And its 85th percentile speed was 47. So,
What was the sample period for that?
so we typically sample it within 24 hours. So there was a,
That for one day?
Yes.
What you got? 47? Okay. So if two cars went past.
Did you say that average speed was 47?
The 85th percentile speed. That means 85% of cars were going.
How was the 1,200 cars a day? 1,200 cars a day.
So when you consider what you're going to do, you'll make it miserable drive. Use that as that. What are you going to do to break off? What are you going to do to carry?
We should do, the white lines and the 35-mile-per-hour posting from Great Road. It's a collector street.
That's why that's 35 instead of 25 or the rest disabled.
Yeah,
The point of my question, private will pick up, it will make break off less safe. Because you're
It'll
gonna have
make
so many
Great Road
people
slower. More
and
traffic.
it,
So you'll take okay, let's say a couple of hundred of those cars out. You'll take 1,000 more cars a day.
That's an interesting assumption. Well, 1,200 cars a day is surprising to me. I know it's 40,000 cars a day that go down Old Boulevard in front of Grams.
I think someone had mentioned 1,200.
so it was on the
That's 12.
And how many homes are around? So 1,200 cars.
I've lived there a long time. There's 1,200 cars. They must be doing 100 feet.
You're going by really fast.
They're going down.
Where the,
It was, at least if there was only one, it was
So it seems there are about 45 properties. Now, not all of these properties are necessarily going to be residences. That's something that we'll look through when we're sending out the ballots.
Does this indicate that Ronnie Road is complete?
Yeah, the Corsi Farms, department required Corsi. So,
That's a question.
We also had a question in the chat asking about that farm development on Campbell Road. They heard that the development was going to sidewalk Ronnie Road as part of their development and zoning arrangement. So just wondering if that's also.
East Campbell on the new part of Ronnie.
So are you looking to put the speed bumps on that section of Ronnie Road?
From the section, it wasn't part of this program, so it's not built there. It's not
But they won't be voting then on this program.
So, this thing is like, so County Road dead end to Campbell, now that is gonna continue. So that will bring more traffic.
And it probably goes to the connections between the neighborhoods.
I'm just saying that that's what's gonna
I
happen.
mean, yeah, I don't know whether or not, if I take Graycroft and Milton. I don't know what benefit there is.
So the next meeting, will we know if the little section on the end of Ronnie Road can be Xed out and if we can be opted for, if our vote reflects red road speed sign, red road sign? We know those two things possibly.
By the next meeting, yes, we will have the final plan set that will show what we've come up with. I guess I want to take this moment to, I've heard your thoughts on the concept that we brought, and we've taken notes on your feedback. I would like to take a moment to kind of, I guess, hear your thoughts, because we are here to get feedback from you guys. We've gotten your feedback on what we've proposed. We'd love to hear your feedback on what you would like to see in your neighborhood.
So I have one other question, because if the people between Hickory, Nesbit want and vote and say, we want all these people. And the little section between Nesbit and Campbell Road, say we don't, is it all or nothing? Or can they just go with the section of Ronnie where people voted in?
A lot of people sitting here are for you.
So I didn't know if it's all,
That's
all
all.
or nothing.
Well, that's, I mean, it's a research question. I think that if, results of the vote may tell us that. I mean,
We can, again, we're here for feedback, so we'll take that into consideration.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was even an option. If we say, hey, the biggest chunk of people from, Campbell Road to Nesbit say, we don't want it. The other guys say, we want it up here on our, from Nesbit to Hickory. Could that be done there in the environmental section alone? So that we're not impacting, but we're not being impacted.
yeah.
We and we have split some streets within the program. We do that on a case-by-case basis.
We just have this long, you look, they're multi creative. There's a very long stretch. And there. By the time they get out here, very long. There. Exactly.
That's but yeah, you gotta get on.
They do it, and they
Some of the.
And if, and sometimes I'll put on the pin to slow down. I'll have my mailbox.
I don't know if, I'm sure there's probably. watch at least 1 out of 5 cars.
Yeah, that's something that we like to call it whack-a-mole with the police department, right? We can ask them to set up a thing and it's not for a while and then leave and it speeds up. So, but it's still a tool in our toolbox, right? And so if we find that the speed humps are actually making people also stop at stop signs, that's pretty cool. If it's not, then what can we do for other enforcement? All the tools are still available.
And then more people flow through that intersection on Nesbitt, rather than the people on Ronnie. Seems like the people primarily stop. You know,
They come down on the field.
Yeah, and again, I keep it like it's for a free stop and, trailers and. Stop there, then.
Might be the best solution. I know you already said what the issues are, trying to get a stop sign on Williams.
Yeah, and in Williams, doing traffic calming on Williams was one of the jobs.
Our cushion is the only option.
They're not the only option. As I showed you, there are other things within our toolbox.
Because what was the last option to get to the city?
Chicanes.
I've been up against those on a road I drove in another city and they'll slow you down.
Is that what?
There's one over in West Nashville, like near, I think near Green Hills, maybe in the Green Hills area.
That we're all driving.
I was about to say,
Have this.
I was at somebody's car or drivers that everybody's on chill.
It's really entertaining because I just looked at it and I've got kids that are in front. How do we fix it? So I had no idea that this would be such a convenience for the majority of people who are facing a road that I don't live on. So I apologize for that. But ultimately, like, I think the number one thing is safety. If it's not the speed cushion, like, I'm all for whatever everybody wants to do. Once again, I don't get a vote, but I want everybody to feel good. I live close to this. And that's probably the most peaceful. You hardly ever see cars drive down there. And
Like I said, it's like.
And it's beautiful for those people who want to walk. She wants to walk on Ronnie Road, but she doesn't get to. I want to walk on Saunders, but I don't get to.
How is it traversing these things? You know, you're trying to get to fires, you're trying to get to
Still
dangerous.
told me West Nashville, I tell you that, it's 25 miles an hour. You can't get any faster, and you almost come to a stop, you go over, or it will shake you to death. You can't straddle it. Yeah, you can't straddle it, because it's still, if you straddle it, you're going this way. So,
Somebody in the back.
yeah, it's not.
I'm curious about that because that's not what we've been told by
Yeah.
studies,
It's not
that
bad.
the ambulance and the full size trucks are supposed to be able to get over them without any problem, but I mean, he works with Fox 55, so he would.
Well, I mean, you can go over them at 20 miles an hour without a problem, but when you're trying to get to a fire or an emergency, you want them to get there.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious.
And this is good feedback because we've been told by the manufacturers that that is the case, that the front wheels, unless there are double wheels on the back, that they should be able to pass over it smoothly or with minimal, because it's not going over the highest portion in the center, That's what we've been told, but obviously hearing from a firefighter, this is super helpful.
But I mean, they're all done by the police. Truck, I guess UPS trucks or. I think my thing would be is how far they're spread out, would be mine. You were asking for suggestions. I think if it wasn't, and I know it sounds like 7, and I would be okay with it. I agree. When it's Desmond and Campbell, I don't know that you need 2, which is the way that was drawn
Yeah,
up.
and we can reevaluate that,
But then
hearing
going
your
down the
feedback.
hill from my house to their house, I don't think you need 3, which is the way that was drawn up.
Does anyone have a whole station that's down here that's posted in for local hospitals or police that go across that?
NDOT can, and I think this is a good opportunity to be able to just double check with our emergency vehicles, to make sure that the vendor is not
Yeah.
inaccurate in what they're telling you.
Because we did,
Yeah, I mean, it's even for like,
yeah. And so we did go out to a fire station and measure the distance between the wheels. And that was when we found that the double wheels were actually not able to fully straddle it. But again, we were under the impression that it was not going to hit at the full 3-inch. And so it wouldn't be as impactful as when a passenger vehicle passes over it. But again, hearing from a firefighter, I think this is great feedback for us.
Yeah, it's much better to hear from somebody. And while I walk on the road, can't make the roads drivable, so we can walk more safe.
The idea is to find the happy medium, which again, the idea isn't to make the roads undrivable. It's just that these are residential streets. This isn't a Gallatin Pike. This isn't an Old Hickory Boulevard that's made to get people along long distances from one place to another. This is a neighborhood street that's really meant to just get people to their houses, and people are using it in ways that it wasn't built for, and it's making it unsafe for the people who want to use it to walk to the destinations in their neighborhood. So that's what we're here to address, and that's kind of the idea behind the program.
we're, and so I want to make sure that everybody had a chance to work. This is just the first. If you want to go back to the timeline, just to remind people kind of where we are.
Yeah, so we're still pretty early in the process. Yeah. And if you think of any other questions or you want to give us any more feedback, this is the contact information for the program manager at NDOT. And that's my contact information. I'm the project engineer on that. And I can give you guys my card if you'd like that instead.
It'll be on the NDOT, it'll be on the government,
The traffic
channel.
Is it on the postcard here? Is that it?
No, that would take, yeah, that I don't think it takes you there, but
No,
if you,
because all of those, couple of days.
yeah, because we record all the meetings, and so you should be able to access it on the YouTube page. They're roughly around 6 weeks apart typically, but again, you'll get a postcard in the mail in advance of your next meeting.
Go to the ballot unless at the next meeting, so we need some changes and changes that we made. So it's not like, okay, we put everything, here it is. We still have them.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're here to serve the communities. We're here to try to help. We're here because somebody asked us to come here. And so if you decide that you don't want it, that's perfectly okay. And we have 426 streets that have asked for us to come help them as well. So we're not trying to force anything on you that you don't want.
I see a sign up on, Eastward road closed soon. I think that might be them installing the cushions here next few weeks. And so if you see them, in West Northumberland, then try them, and see. So I haven't gotten the meeting 2 yet. Oh, well, no, I think meeting 2 on 4. I think, yes. There's some pieces that I'm working on. Unfortunately, we started them anyway. District 8 has a lot of traffic calming going on because there's a lot of people who want to get in between, and District 8 happens to be in. So, this is the neighborhood program. So the neighborhood on it, and majority of the folks on the road know. Then there's another street that was.
Okay, well, thank everybody for coming. Of course.